Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over 3 things that I wish I knew when I first started getting into archery. Here we go. Alright y'all, I've been into archery for 3 years now, and for the longest time my groups were sucking for like the first 2 years that I was in this, and I didn't know why. I was practicing every day, and no matter what I did, I could not improve the way I wanted to, and I just couldn't figure out why. And as everyone does, we go on YouTube and we try to figure out and learn new things and figure out what we're doing wrong. And over the past year, I've really improved in the way I've been able to shoot and improve my groups, even with practicing, not even daily anymore. Just time's been getting away from me, but I've still been able to improve my groups drastically from what I did in the first 2 years of this sport. So, yeah, let's get into the 3 things that I've learned that have helped me improve. Alright, well, the first thing I wish I knew when I first got into this was learning to slow down my shot process. I was so worried about drawing back, finding my anchor point, and getting ready and good to go and just letting arrows fly. And that really isn't the strategy. You really got to learn to slow down, take your time, and have a process. I didn't have a process at all, but now I finally have been able to develop a process. It doesn't have to be exactly like everyone else's. It just has to be your own process, know your own setup and the way to draw back, how you want to, how to find your own anchor point, and get in really the perfect position that you want to be to execute your shot. So one of the things I struggled with was punching the button, not being able to find my anchor point, and it just wasn't working. That's, again, a reason that my groups were not improving the way I wanted to, and it was just letting arrows fly. I wasn't actually having a process or being consistent or anything. It was just drawing back, punching the button, and letting it fly. In a second here, guys, I'm going to go over my shot process. I'll show you me drawing back and every part that I have in my process that I have developed to help me increase my groups greatly. Obviously, I'm not the best archer. I'm far from being good, but at the same time, I've been able to improve over the past 3 years, going from a Bear Cruiser G2 up to my lift. Along with that, it really helps to have the high-end stuff, but it's not something you necessarily need. And yeah, let's get into it. Alright, for my shot process, what I do, I've kind of developed it over the years. I had really bad sky draws, was pulling straight back. And now what I've learned a lot from Crispy and watching him and watching other archers and how they draw back in their shot process. So for me, what I do, drawing back, I like to try to replicate what how Crispy draws back. He's very knowledgeable in my opinion, so I like to replicate what he does. But for me drawing back, what I do is I use leverage. So what I'll do is I push forward, I'll try to open and pull back basically. I'm using my leverage to be able to pull back. And it's helped me pull back like 60, I think I'm shooting 62 pounds right now. I'm a righty, but I shoot left-handed, so my left arm is not the most down hand that I have. And so that's why I'm able to pull back the poundage I do, even though it's not a lot, but for being my non-dominant side, it really helps. But to draw back, I use my leverage, I push forward, can pull back like that. Get a nice, smooth, clean draw. I usually start with finding my anchor point. Don't even care where my pins are floating at or sitting. I find my anchor point, I get in there, and then I look through my peep sight. And right now, I'm just looking at my pins. Everything's blurry beyond my pins, but I'll slowly find my target and look beyond the pins. Not even care where the pins are. You can still barely see them, but I'm looking at my target. And so what I'll do is I'll slowly let her just float. And instead of punching it, I'm going to slowly surprise myself with a shot. Just like that. I surprise myself with a shot, I don't punch it, I just let it all flow naturally, and you're trying to surprise yourself almost, not flinching, but trying to surprise yourself when you shoot, and just letting it fly, letting my pins float, and it's not really a command shooting, but it's like just letting everything flow, and most of the time, you're going to be where you want, as long as you're letting the pins float, and you're not punching. That's my shot process, but we'll get back into the talking part. Alright y'all, so that was my shot process, and yours can be multiple different ways that you can do it, but that's my personal shot process. I didn't really go fully in depth. It's kind of hard to explain what I do in my shot process, but that was the best of my ability to explain it to y'all. But yeah, you just create your own shot process. At first, in my old clips you can see on my Instagram from long ago, I was not having a shot process whatsoever. I was sky drawing, I was doing tons of different stuff, and it just was draw back, let the arrow fly, hope it hits the target. It wasn't anything special. And it really was holding me back quite a lot. But again, you learn and you move on, and I've been able to develop a shot process And here we are today. I mean, getting better every day, that's all that matters. I'm not the best, I'm not good even, but you still try to get better every day, and the shot process is what helps. So that's always a thing that's developing for me every day, is the shot process. You can always get better with that, in my opinion, no matter what. And so yeah, something I keep developing. But on to tip number 2. Alrighty, y'all, on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 that I have is focus on one thing per session. It's not something you have to do, but again, it's a tip. Something you can choose to do. For me, when I finally started figuring out a shot process, I would focus on too many things at once instead of actually focusing on one thing at a time and focusing on getting better at one thing specifically and then moving on to the next. Instead, I was trying to throw everything together and it just wasn't working. So that's what happened, and so I had to basically tell myself, okay, you gotta calm down, you gotta slow down and focus on one thing in particular. So like find your anchor point every time, be consistent, find your grip consistently every time. Just focus on hitting the target maybe every single time, because that might be something that you struggle with. But again, focus on one thing at a certain time, no matter what it is, can be a real game changer, no matter what it is, from the tiniest little thing. And so, yeah, that's tip number 2. Kind of a short one, but just want to slip that in there. My third and final tip as a bow hunter specifically is adding pressure to your shots. It's something that I struggled with this year, and it really screwed up most of my season, honestly, for the most part. I mean, I had an opportunity this year where, I talked about this in past videos, where I had a buck, and I unfortunately was not able to get the deal done because I had target panic. I never added pressure in the off season to my shots. I always just was relaxed, shooting, and it just really wasn't working at all. I mean, there I thought it was working, but when you actually get into the field and you're testing yourself and you get under that pressure, it never is. Most of the time, it's not going to work. I stayed with just normal square targets all year. I didn't switch to 3D for some reason, and it really just was lack of preparation on my part. And it's just one of those things where you got to add pressure. You got to put yourself in pressured situations. You got to practice shooting out of a tree. You got to practice all these little things. You can't just make it simple. Archery can be simple, but it's one of those things when you're a bow hunter, it's one of those things you can't just make it simple. You got to be able to go out and get the job done under pressure. And sometimes when you're practicing, you got to manufacture that pressure. You can't just let it come naturally and hope that you're going to succeed. You may be able to succeed, but it's one of those things that you always want to practice just in the case where you might have it. Some things that you can, a simple drill or something you can do to fix that is go out, start at 20 yards, say, and pick a point, put a little dot, a sticker, whatever you want on your target, wherever you want to hit, and try to hit that spot. And if you don't hit that spot, instead of just grabbing another arrow and doing a follow-up shot, hoping you'll hit there, walk down there, pull your arrow, and restart, and get it until you get perfect. Find your consistency with that pressure, and as soon as you do that, slap another sticker on or whatever you have to do, walk back another 10 yards and keep doing it. There's tons of different things you guys can do to add pressure. I've seen Josh Bomar, he's put his roller dice on the back of his truck, right on his toolbox, I think it was. And he was adding pressure to his shots. If he missed a shot, he was most likely going to send one right through the window, and it was going to be a pretty bad deal. But Josh is a very good bow hunter, he's a very good archer, and he was able to execute those shots, but he was also practicing under that pressure. He was able to execute and know what he had to do so that he didn't damage his own property, he didn't mess up. And that's what separates the good archers from the best archers, and the mediocre archers from the good archers. They all have their levels, and they're all able to execute under pressure. So, yeah. So y'all, you don't need a new bow, you don't need new arrows, you don't need anything really new to help you become a better archer. You just need better habits. Once again, I am not good in the slightest when it comes to comparing myself to other people. I still mess up, I still have things that I need to improve. You can always get better every day. And so yeah, those are just 3 things that I wish people had told me before I started archery, before I got into those bad habits. Luckily, I have been able to turn those around for the most part, and have been able to develop a lot faster than I did in my first 2 years getting into this. But yeah, so next time y'all are out shooting, try these 3 tips to see if they help you get better and develop as a better archer and a bow hunter. There's always room to get better, So don't ever beat yourself down and just keep going. Thanks for watching the video, y'all. Please subscribe, turn on notifications. Really helps out. See you in the next one.